Hello friends, in today's episode we're going to be discussing 11 archetype and 11 major arcana justice. Those who already watch this series of videos know the way I structured it. There are 22 major tarot archetypes and major tarot arcanas. Arcanas are essential informational field. So one card, it's like a whole universe. It can have so many meanings, right? Plus the combination of 78 cards altogether, multiplied by all the additional cards it can be potentially being in a spread with, creates an enormous amount of opportunities and possibilities how the events can unfold, right? That's why professional tarot cards reader, they have to know what they're doing before they can channel that information to the person, and being a clean channel is essential. There's so many professionals out there who can call themselves but they are not the case because they can channel information that it's not true. That's why a lot of people do have certain concerns and fears when it comes to tarot cards reading, and they are right to do so because we should question everything we encounter. Nevertheless, there are also good professionals who come to this type of mission that they are doing with the ultimate responsibility and respect. And they understand that whatever informational field is showing, they have to tell their client or their friend, whoever came for the consultation and advice, they have to tell exactly how they see things with living person, with hope to better all the areas of life, but nevertheless telling the situation the way it is. Those who are mistaken the world of tarot for just divination or future prediction, that's not the case. That's the deeply psychological instrument that helps better all the areas of life, and that was brought to us all the way from ancient Egypt. More about it I discuss in the video which is called Why People Are Afraid of Tarot. Link will be down below. Nevertheless, what are the archetypes? Archetypes are something that close to us, like a pattern of behavior that we will be showing throughout life, right? One of the archetypes, because we have plenty, at least two, one of them will be our initial one, and it will be as our date of birth is. There are 22 of them, right? And there are 22 major arcanas and archetypes. Those who are born from 1st to 22nd will determine their archetype easily. But what about people who are born from the 23rd up to 31st? There is a special algorithm that I teach on the course, and my students know how to calculate it. Nevertheless, let's go back to the justice description. Those who know the structure, I usually explain piece by piece. We dive into the glyphs, and the glyphs there of the cards, they contain a lot of secret messages, and they contain a lot of clues about understanding how every major arcana and every archetype is different from the other, and what's so special about it. So, justice. We see the lady, she's holding scales, which scales always represent a form of justice, a form of kind of harmony, when something is weighed against something else and there is a conclusion whether one thing outweighs the other. Anyways, it's always a symbol of all those supreme courts or all those places where some type of decision have to be made in order to resolve any situation. The lady also holds a sword in her right hand. She's sitting on the throne, fully clothed, fully covered, and wearing a red color clothes. She's wearing a crown with a jewel in the middle of it. She's in between two columns that are covered by a purple or like purplish reddish kind of color fabric. And that's what we see on the picture. And how do we make sense of it all? When it comes to justice, there is no emotion. Justice has some mission that requires a very impartial outlook. So the judge, when the court is happening, when two people are in a hearing process and one of the people is trying to prove they're right and the other people trying to prove they're right. The judge has to be impartial. The judge cannot be favoring one over the other because he or she likes how one of them looks, or they're the same ethnicity or same nationality or skin color, right? The real professional judge has to take into account only facts that are presented by both parties and make an impartial decision. And that's crucial when it comes to law. That's why law has its own um, big placement in the hierarchy system we live in, right? The legislative power has its laws, and everybody is equal in the face of law. What happens here? Also, the yellow background, which, let's start with the background, with the colors. Yellow is the color of third chakra, Manipura chakra. That's a chakra of warriors and leaders. It's located in the stomach area. It's a chakra of power of will. It's a chakra of those people who are very strong in terms of achieving their goals. They're very strong. Nothing can move them. If they think about something and they think this is right, nobody's going to shift them from their initial opinion, because they're not changing very quickly. They're not like chameleons, like second caste people, like merchants, yeah, the ones who are more responsible for money, right? They can be mimicking and they can be acting like someone else because they have the goal to sell whatever they're selling. It can be both material and informational, whatever the case is. Next, caste is a caste of warriors, and their chakra levels are all lined up with their initial mission, and their most desirable thing is power. More than anything, they like power. Yeah, that's the yellow background. Yeah, it's all these institutions like courts, like police and stuff. They're all running onto the on that type of fuel. You know, they're all running on power and authority. Then we have the two columns that are covered with a fabric. The two columns would represent right and left hemisphere of the brains, both logical and both intuitive and creative. And also a yellow color, back to that, it's like a color of a daylight. Certain arcanas and archetypes, they're dark. They have a darker backgrounds. Certain of them are lighter. A lighter background tells us about the daytime hours, when the court usually operating during daytime hours. And also the nightfall, that's the time when majority of crimes occur. So under the nightfall, it's kind of easier to do some shady stuff, right? So that fabric behind the lady is that veil, a mystery veil of the universal laws, because they're also universal. There are laws that are operating in the system we live in the countries, and the societal laws, and there are also universal laws because they're always working. It's just the fact that we don't see them and they're not written in the constitution. It doesn't mean they don't exist. As a matter of fact, a lot of laws are stated in the Holy Scriptures, all of them. Then we have the lady, she's wearing red color. Red color is a representation of our root chakra, and our root chakra is the chakra of basic needs, basic desires, human nature, physical body, and including sexual desire as well, which is not getting wasted but gets sublimated. When it gets sublimated, a lot of people who choose the path of let's say service to others through some enlightenment work, through some spiritual work, or some certain religious confessions, or certain religious people, they choose to stay celibate, which means they abstain from sexual relationships, and they gain another kind of power when that energy is not wasted, but instead when it's sublimated. Then the lady is holding a sword in her hand, and the sword represents the fact that if the person is guilty, the head is going to be cut off the shoulders, metaphorically speaking. But back in the days, that was actually the common practice. If somebody was guilty, the authority figures by the kingdom, they were totally having the go-aheads to deprive somebody of head if that person was deemed guilty, and if the higher hierarchies were given that type of order. But nowadays, luckily we live in a civilized society and situation where there are courts and there are other institutions that watch and take charge into the situations of decision making when it comes to guilt or not. The lady is holding the scales, which we already discussed, and scales are initial representation of justice. It's also a symbol of Libra. For those who are into astrology, Libra is the only sign that is represented by the object, by the symbol, because all the other signs are merely some type of people, human, or animals, but Libra is the only one that it's actual object. And it's very interesting that that sign also has a very big capacity within them to determine whether the situation is just or not, if they're developing in their higher stages, right? Because there are lower and higher stages of development for each and one of us, and each and one of the signs has pluses and minuses. Nevertheless, let's go back to the justice. So people who have the archetype justice by the date of birth, right? They're born on the 11, or people who has another algorithm by calculating their archetypes, what I teach on the course, or people who want to channel this energy. Because it's not about just knowing who we are by XYZ, by the numerology, by the astrology, and all of that stuff, or archetypes. It's about knowing when and how to apply that particular energy at a given moment, whenever we need to. Yeah. So people with this strong strength in them as justice, they are known to have a sort of invisible protection. These are the people you do not want to mess with, because you're not going to be messing with the person alone. You're going to be messing with those higher powers or aggregors who are standing behind the person and who are interested in the person's well-being and development, especially if that person is awakened, if that person is representing some type of service to humanity, if that person is useful to humanity, if that person is doing something, whatever it's their line of work or hobby, or whatever is their mission, if that mission helps majority of people in this world, or at least a small group of people, then that person will by default gain a protection of the egregore that patronizes that particular field that person is in. I'll give you a more practical example, like let's talk about religion. People of the certain religion confession, they get a sort of protection by the egregore, because every religion is an egregore. For example, if the person goes to church, they are protected by the church. If the person goes to synagogue, they're protected by the synagogue. If the person goes to mosque, they're protected by that mosque that they're going to, because they pay their respects. The egregores, they're feed by the time. People give their time, the egregores feed by that time, and then in exchange, they grant some type of protection to the people who are respectively go to those institutions. Also, like traditional Christian tradition, when the baby gets baptized. A small baby usually gets baptized by the year of 1 or maybe earlier. Parents take baby to church, and in some cultures they appoint godfather and godmother. In some cultures they don't do it, but nevertheless the ritual is performed, and the ritual is designed to protect the infant from death and protect the infant from harm, diseases. Islamic cultures believe in evil eye, not only Islamic cultures, a lot of others. Basically, the child, when it's so small and innocent and not protected, needs another additional protection, which that tradition and that ritual is performed in a lot of cultures. One of them is Christian, and other ones, I'm sure there also exist in other ones. But nevertheless, there is a very big notice that those children who belong to, let's say, Christian families, and those children who were not baptized, they experience more hardships and more sicknesses versus the kids who were baptized. That's a common observation. And every culture has their own way of protecting the loved ones. Here I'll emphasize a little bit on the evil eye, so-called. Yeah, some cultures call it evil eye, some cultures call it another way. Psychic attacks, it's called as a psychic attack in the spiritual communities. The nature of evil eye or psychic attack lays behind one emotion or two strong emotions. Usually this emotion is either hate or jealousy, envy, jealousy, hate. Low vibrational emotion of hate for some reasons or for no particular reasons at all create a very strong energetic impulse that damages the adressat, which in a lot of cases is somebody's child or just somebody who becomes kind of like becomes that trigger for those people who experience those negative emotions. Those negative emotions are very strong in nature because negativity has that polarity of the heaviness towards them. And usually, if people love somebody, they love them, unless it's unconditional. Yeah, they love them for something and they just love them. But if they hate somebody, they hate all of them, everything about them. So that's why that emotion becomes very strong. And as a consequence, our sublime bodies, and we all have sublime bodies, the fact that we don't see them doesn't mean they're not there. And I explain more about it in lessons in this playlist of the archetypes. Nevertheless, the sublime's bodies, they get the first impulse and first signal from the psychic attack or so-called evil eye, and the person starts getting sick. And it's a very common practice for small children when they are very well taken care of and there are no reasons or predisposition for any illnesses. They have balanced diet, their mothers are in charge, and they have a really good care that surrounds the baby, but the baby gets sick out of the blue, right? Very, very common practice for a lot of mothers who are concerned about it and they don't know what to do. And one of the reasons is that energetic field around your child is not strong enough to withstand a big amount of hate that can come from the outside. It doesn't even have to be a conscious, purposeful hate. It can be just well, basically the person means no harm, but some people are so heavy energetically, their frequency is so low that automatically there is a dissonance. There's a dissonance in the energy, and the first person who will feel it will be likely either small baby or pregnant women, because they are in a constant stress. They're trying to, carry out very important mission in this life, and they're in a constant a vulnerable state of mind, which damages their aura by default as well, which makes them weaker. So I discuss much more about it in the video that will be attached below, why people are scared of tarot, where I interview a really amazing friend of mine who is also a tarot cards reader and a magician and an author of protective magic courses, where we discuss in detail how to protect yourself. Whoever is interested, please link down below. But to summarize the archetype justice and the arcana justice, people who are under impression that life is not fair, and there are some circumstances which make people question, where is the justice? Why the loved ones are dying, or God forbid something else is happening, right? Something really devastating. But behind that veil, the universal laws are working. No matter what traumatic experiences each and one of us ever went through life, there is a certain universal order that orchestrates it. And if you are not yourself violating any universal laws, if you don't bring harm to anybody, you will be always granted some type of protection, some type of patronage behind you. Because when you don't violate the laws, you will likely be experiencing more favor from the universe. But each case is individual. There is a lot of karmic consequences that need to be taken into account and further studies be analyzed, so I cannot vouch for everybody because everybody's case is different. But one thing is certain, there is a power of retribution, which I discuss more in the Arcana 16, which is Tower. And when the time comes, everybody has to pay their bill. The justice signifies family, institute of marriage, institutional marriage. Also, it signifies, when it comes out and spread, it means that no matter what, You reap what you sow, and the situation is going to be resolved in the most favorable way, in the most fair way as deemed by the universe. And if you are born on the 8th, for example, your birthday is on the 8th, this is going to be one of your archetypes, justice. People like this have very strong personality. Most likely they are rarely capable of violating the laws because they know how the consequences are. So most likely not everybody, of course, there's so many exceptions. There are so many criminals who are born on the 8th, right? But awakened person who is self-realized will not allow himself or herself to do something that's outside of the scope of the system of justice. These people are strong and these people know it, and they would not do something that will put them in the situation where they have to answer in form of other systems like courts and stuff. They would rather do things right. But again, there are a lot of exceptions. People with the justice archetype or know how to channel it, they're always under protection, as I mentioned. And that if they're favorable to the universe and they're doing some kind of mission that's important, most likely those people who will be hating on the justice archetype person will have the bounce back right away and watch their lives crumble. If they would want to damage somebody who is highly valuable by higher powers, that can be one of the side effects. So before you hate someone, think twice if it's wise or not, because not everybody is the right person to send that negativity to. On this note, I want to finish this video with invitation to everyone who is interested in the world of tarot, in the world of psychology, in the world of astrology, in the world of numerology. I'll be so happy to have you all join the course of Archetypal Psychology. I'm going to show you the designer version, which is also my tradition designer deck, as I like to call them. This beautiful lady wearing red dress, the Justice. She's having a sword and she's having the scales, same attributes than in classic tarot. So for those who want to be a part of school, your first homework is to purchase classic deck. Designer decks, you will be able to read all of them, absolutely all of them, and there are so many different variations. As long as you can read the classic ones, designer decks will be no problem to you. And since it's month of Halloween, since it's season of the witch, I'm delighted to present 50% off on Archetypal Psychology course. It's valid until the night of Halloween, October 31st. For those who will be watching this video way later, that's okay. We just happen to be in a very, very fast environment that happens. The events happen very quickly. Nevertheless, whenever you found this video, it means that that's the moment you needed it the most. I, regardless, invite everybody to join beautiful world of tarot, beautiful school of tarot that I established for people who are always constantly developing and want to obtain another beautiful, amazing instrument that will help them navigate through life with more efficiency and being able to help themselves and the ones they love. I'll see you on the next video.